Hi, Luke here from the Talking Theatre podcast, and before you start this episode, this is just a warning to say that this podcast does contain some strong language and adult humour, but also it is hopefully a bit of a laugh, and we talk all things theatre. So with that formal announcement out of the way, let's get on with this week's podcast. Hi mate, how are you?
I'm not bad, mate. Yourself?
I'm good, actually. As you can see, viewers, I can see. Look, I've got some new glasses. Been home and...
Oh, of course, those are your new ones, aren't they?
They are.
Oh, they look good, man.
I know.
Improved.
I know, thank you. So I've been home and done that. And now I do have yet another annoying story. And I'm sure it will not... Although, positive before I go into a negative. Obviously, I don't know if you've seen the thing about how, people with glasses and masks, you can't see and stuff.
Yeah, I just don't wear my glasses when I'm wearing my mask anymore. I can't be bothered.
Yeah, so I got these new ones, because my other ones came down to here, didn't they? And I was doing some work on the train on Monday. I was like, there's no way this is happening. So I had to take them off. But I have a positive on before I get to my negative on. I managed to see the majority of my journey with these on and my mask, so hopefully the different choices worked well. My negative
Fair enough.
Apparently the seat reservation things weren't working because of the social distancing. And you know how you always get that one person on the train that wants to be a problem, should we say?
Yeah.
This woman came up and she wanted a plug. Fair enough, one name. Didn't have a seat reservation, so I was like, you can't sit there anyway. She probably had about 3 different seats. Then the ticketing guy came through. Wasn't bothered about whether you had a ticket or not. Was more bothered about whether you was all socially distanced. Guess where she ended up?
Next to you.
First class.
Are you joking?
No, didn't even have a seat reservation because apparently the seat reservation thing is not working because the people behind me also got moved to first class. But they should have been in their seats, as I was in my seat as well. And I was there like, if I had been in first class and paid for a first class ticket, that would have beat me off, like really beat me off, because of how much more they are for the first class ticket. But secondly, I was like, she's one that's been the problem, it's not me. What? I was like, if you're going to move anyone, make her sit there for... Now that she's decided she wants to sit there and turn me off to first class.
Well, you've had a hell of a journey then.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And,
I'd give anything to be bumped up to first class. I don't even care what sort of transport it is. The dream is to fly somewhere. Well, not currently, but the dream is to fly somewhere and get bumped up to first class and you just... Oh.
Yeah.
But you gotta hope it's a long flight. So if you did it on a flight to Edinburgh or something, there's not really much point. But if you have a flight to Singapore or something, that's where it's...
Now, I've never understood the people that decide to... I mean, for any, I'm probably going to turn myself here quite a lot. But I've never understood anyone that flies British Airways business class in Europe because it's the same seat. They just close the curtain. I'm like, why are you bothering flying business class? An hour and a half.
It might be business expenses, who knows?
Well, who knows? But
anyway, this is getting quite off topic for a theatre podcast, but let's talk about air travel another day, I think.
It's just a general check-in, but as we say, we
basically
finish our general check-in. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Anyway, we'll stop with the crap jokes and we will introduce the podcast. And welcome back to episode 6 of the Talking Theatre podcast with me, Luke.
And me, Tom.
And on this week's episode, we are going to be delving into a little bit about Tom's roots into theatre. Hopefully you managed to see last week's podcast where I did the same. If not, where have you been all this time? Obviously, we will have a bit of crossover today, but keep listening to this one now and watching this podcast now, but then go and check out the other one as well at the end of this video. But as I say, thank you for being here. We're looking forward to this podcast. Well, I am, at least, because hopefully Tom...
I'm dreading it, mate. I haven't been asked questions about my theatre that I have passed. I have no idea what to answer. I'm excited, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So as Tom said there, it's going to be a little bit different to last week's. If you have watched last week's, this is going to be more of an interview. There's not kind of the long story as...
Yeah, my general narrative isn't quite as interesting or dramatic as yours, so it's a bit... Doing a narrative wasn't the point, but questions work a lot better.
So what we're going to do is I'm just going to basically kind of ask Tom some questions, and then we're just going to kind of run off the back of that, I suppose. So what I have written them all down, so they're not kind of completely off the cuff and whatever. And Tom had a little bit of warning, so hopefully some of the answers are a little bit thought out rather than...
Doesn't mean my answers are completely thought out though. I'm still a bit...
Yeah. But hopefully
we'll get there. We'll see how it's going.
Anyway. So Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my God! Thank you so much for having me. It's an honour. It's an honour. I've always dreamed of doing this.
And I'm not going to do like a Piers Morgan style interview where I ask you a question and when you're responding, I just talk over the top of you. It's not going to be like that. So
I'll hold you to that.
Well, I suppose we'll find out. So I suppose the first thing to ask would be kind of like, at what age did you, or can you remember having your first theatrical experience? I know that mine was Joseph and the Technical and Dreamcoat. I was probably 6 or 7 maybe. So you kind of age do you think that kind of first theatrical experience was?
I'm not too sure. I mean, I remember obviously nativities and stuff, but I don't really remember them very well. And I remember being told by my parents that I never enjoyed them. And I used to have a little like a plush monkey sort of thing, called Monkey, really imaginative. And I used to take it on stage with me and hide behind it because I used to not like going on stage. But the first do you mean like when I'm on stage or just like first encounter with theatre?
More first encounter. I think that we'll get on to kind of you on stage a little bit later.
Yeah.
I kind of was wondering, I suppose, where that kind of first thing of you seeing theatre that you can kind of remember probably was.
Yeah, well, it's probably a panto, to be honest. I couldn't tell you where. Probably somewhere like Birmingham or maybe Warwick. Oh, I think I might have seen one in Stratford as well. But yeah, a panto is probably the first one. I can't remember serious theatre. I probably went on like a few school trips. There's one that's sticking out in my mind now. I cannot remember for my life where it was, but I think it was a retelling of some Hans Christian Andersen tales in the Round somewhere, but it was in like a tent. That was pretty cool. Then when I was really young, I was really lucky enough to see Cirque du Soleil, which is pretty cool. But other than that, I stuff I went to see, I'm not too sure on. But yeah, the first ones are probably pantos. I mean, the main memory I have there is going to Subway, and because I was a really fussy eater, I didn't like any of the meats and stuff, so I just had it was like cheese, and that was it, and it was horrible because it was just cheese and put me off Subway for a while. I love it now though, don't worry. But yeah, for a bit I was a bit But that's the main memory I have from panto for some reason, which is a bit weird. But yeah.
I suppose I kind of expected you to probably say panto because I think that would be quite a common answer because, the great thing about panto is, and obviously we hope they can still go ahead this year, is that, when you're into theatre, it's more the entertainment, it's more the fun aspect of going to see it.
I've been listening a lot to recently because I've been gardening a lot. I've been thinking, how can I use my time productively while I'm gardening? Because obviously I can't like write or research jobs or anything like that. So I've been listening to the Royal Court Playwrights podcast with Simon Stevens, and it seems at least because he asked the same question. Huh?
Plug.
Oh yeah, he asked the same question as like, what's your first sort of theatre experience that you remember? And most of them say panto because they're like, it must be the first thing they see because it's an easy way to get people in, and I guess that's why it's such a big money tree for theatre.
Yeah, And I think the thing
Yeah.
about panto is you don't even need a big venue to do pantos, which is why it's so important that pantos
Yeah.
go on, because you go to your local theatre maybe once a year for the majority of people, and they have the pantomime. But anyway, we kind of got a bit sidetracked, but Playwrights
Yeah. Sorry.
very good podcast. So go and give
It
that
is. It is good.
a listen.
Probably worth a listen.
Mm. So I suppose off the back of that, then, were you kind of like a keen reader at all as a child? Was that kind of where your interest in stories and storytelling came from? I mean, I know last week we spoke briefly about my love for the Jeremy Strong books, which you never really good. So, which is interesting. I did find in the attic yesterday when I went up there. So
yeah, I had a little look through mine as well, and I went after we recorded it.
They're a bit bruised, but I don't care, because hopefully they can be, well, my parents can give them to the grandchildren, because they are phenomenal books. So, were you a keen reader at all?
I don't think I was a keen reader. I didn't sit around and read a lot of books, but I remember when I was looking around sort of schools that I was eventually moved to, one of them had a really nice library, and that sort of caught my attention. And I've always read books. Like whenever I went on holiday, I'd always take a couple of books with me, because I'd probably finish one and then get to the second one. But I never really, and this is sort of embarrassing, but I never really challenged myself when I read. I often read what I knew I was comfortable with, because when I was really young, sort of like primary school level, I was quite high in sort of the reading bracket.
Yeah.
So I cruised, and I read what I wanted. I was like, I can read this quickly because it's that. So I read stuff like Series of Unfortunate Events, the Gone series, which I reread recently just because I wanted to experience it again. And a lot of books. I read the Cherub books, the Wind Singer books, all these stuff that I loved. And as I grew up, I read stuff like the classics, To Kill a Mockingbird, Brave New World, things like that, because school told me to. But I enjoyed it. I had a big love for my A-level pieces. So like I was saying in one of the other podcasts, I think I mentioned it, I did my coursework on Small Island and God of Small Things and Kite Runner, stuff like that. I unfortunately haven't read as much because it seemed to be the more I was at school and uni and stuff, the more the reading list intensified. So I had less time to read what I wanted. But anyway, I've turned my sort of attention to reading plays now. And while again I haven't read that many, I intend to read a lot more. I'm going to see what sort of ones are free on my Kindle and just get through as many as I can. But I want to read more, but I never considered myself a keen reader.
I mean, I suppose I asked you that question, not necessarily to kind of gauge whether you was a keen reader as such, but more to kind of understand a little bit whether it's or not you reading was kind of like the first kind of, because I kind of want to kind of delve into what, like, when do you think the first time you've read a piece of text out loud was? Because even though, you know, we're talking now about drama and plays specifically, I think that whether on any kind of writer or aspiring writer must have that one piece of literature or something there at some point that kind of sets that in motion. They might not find that specific genre or style or type of creative piece of work, but I just was kind of interested as to, you know, whether reading, it was kind of because you came from a reading kind of background.
I know what you're asking now. The first text I read aloud is quite embarrassing, but it's quite funny. Is when I was at school. I think I must have been about 9-ish. I got into speech and drama, which are basically like Lambda lessons. So you had the Lambda grades and stuff. But in order to get to the acting ones, you had to do what was it called? It was something to do with some sort of reading. So something like text and reading or something like that. And you had to read a text, which is a prose, and then some poetry. Absolutely nailed it, obviously. But the book that I read a section of one of the Doctor Who fiction novel things, and I think it was one of the older ones that had like Zygons or some sort of weird old Doctor Who monster. And I remember reading that and being terrified about it. I had to read half a page or something. It was
Yeah.
nothing. And it was only entry level. It wasn't even grade 1 or anything
Oh
like
yeah.
that. But from doing that, it then put me into the acting side. And I also did, while I was doing my Lander exams, I did devising, mime, and acting. So I did the whole bunch.
Yeah.
But it all came from reading a page of Doctor Who out to these random people who
Yeah.
didn't know who I was, just looking at me going, okay, right, well, yeah, you can get a pass for that. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that I read when I was younger, I did get engrossed in it because I just thought the worlds. I think a lot of it was the worlds that they were creating were really cool. So like the Cherub stuff of undercover teenage spies and the Gone series of these superhero kids and stuff like that. I don't know. It sort of grabbed my attention and having these cool stories and these cool people, and it sort of thought, oh, I tried to write novels as a kid hundreds of times must have been, and I found a couple of them the other day, and my god, they're awful, but they're good fun. They only sort of have like 2-3 pages in, and I gave
Oh
up
yeah.
because it's more work than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it was reading those sort of stuff that really got me into it.
Are they something that our listeners and our viewers can expect to hear in due course?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think I've kept them, but I've buried them somewhere. They are deep at the bottom of a box somewhere.
How about privately, if we make a deal about, I don't know, like if we get so many subscribers or so many views on this
We'll see.
podcast?
We'll play it by ear.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm nervous even showing the script work I do now out, so let alone doing something when I was 11, 10.
I think it'd be funny. Anyway.
I will say that I did have a character. I must have been 6 at this point, 6 or 5, 6, 7, and I created a guy called Danger Boy, who was like my superhero alter ego. And obviously, as a kid, he would do stuff like, he'd climb a wall. There's like a little wall outside my house, probably only about 6 foot high, but I used to climb on that and like walk around it, be like, I'm in danger. So I wrote little short stories about him, and that was quite fun. That's as much as you're getting. I'm not getting any examples.
So you kind of mentioned within that about you doing those Lambda exams, and I think a lot of people listening might have either have done them or at least come across that kind of thing in general, really. So I suppose at what age was your first kind of proper stage appearance then? And I'm not like talking about playing Joseph in the school nativity, although I'm not really sure that you're even do schools do nativities these days? I'm not quite sure.
I have no idea, but I was never Joseph. I played the innkeeper once, and that was
I
a big role.
Once. I was allowed to be on.
That explains your second year piece now.
I know, right? And I was allowed to be
nativity.
a wise man, I think, in year 2. And obviously, Mum found an old tea towel and put the tea towel on the head.
Yeah, a bit odd now, but yeah, my first stage. It was again at school probably, and it was probably a school play. Do they count? Are we counting those?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So while I was, must have been 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I played Harold Godwinson, as in the old King of England, the one that gets the arrow in his eye at the Battle of Hastings. Because we did sort of a history summer play. I really wanted the lead. I was like, yeah. And there were 3 leads because there were 3 classes in our year. So you had the Normans, the Vikings, and the Brits. And my class were the British, sort of the Saxons, I suppose it should call them. And I played Harold Godwinson. I've got the DVD somewhere as well. That should be fun to watch one day. And then obviously I was doing my Lambda exams. But the school I was at didn't let me go past grade 5, which really pissed me off because I wanted to do more because I got to grade 5. And they went, no, you can't go further. We don't facilitate that. And I went, oh, weird. Okay, I'll just redo it in a different discipline then.
Yeah.
So I've got, I think, grades up to at least 4 for mime, devised performance, and acting. Both duologue and both duo and solo. I kept myself busy. And then I finished that off when I was at my secondary school. But yeah, that must have been my earliest one. And then I played, which I thought was a bit inappropriate, but I played Oedipus at 12, I must have been, which is a hell of a story to take on as a 12-year-old. But I got a really cool bit where I had to stab my own eyes out, obviously, because that's what he does. But they put a little cloth between me and the audience, and they put a backlight on.
Yeah.
And I had those little lemons. You know, lemons have like sherbet in it or yogurt or something. I can't remember what was in it. They filled it with red paint. So when I went like that, it squirted onto the thing, but it had the shadow of me stabbing my eyes out. It was really cool. But again, I was 12, so it was a bit graphic for a 12-year-old. But
did it get a good reception? Did it go well?
Honestly, I can't remember. I think it went pretty well. I thought it was fun, but I have no clue. Again, that's probably on film somewhere that I never want to find. But
common trait.
Yeah, well, there's a certain age where it hits, and I'm like, no. And that age was probably about 22. So
yeah, I can imagine. So you kind of spoke about a few things there. So I kind of guessed, just run us through kind of briefly the other kind of things that you did as a child.
Yeah.
To kind of up to the point of knowing that whatever this that we're doing now, all these cameras, whatever this that we've done for 3 years is, the point that you kind of knew that you wanted to do this, and then we'll kind of delve into that a little bit more.
That's a real tough one, because I don't think there was ever a point where I went, yeah, that's what I want to do. But when I went to my school, like the secondary school, and obviously I went straight back into drama, and I kept doing it. I missed the auditions for the first play because I just didn't know what was going on. It was a musical, so I'm quite glad I missed that. And then I was in Comedy of Errors, which was great fun. But it was weird when I was at the first school, when I did stuff like Oedipus and so on. Everyone was a bit shy, everyone was a bit young, so I could be quite confident and sort of go for the bigger roles. Then I got to this school and I just got outgunned in every department. I loved it. I loved acting there. The drama department was incredible. The theatre was beautiful. It was amazing. We were very lucky. And I only got one named role, I'm pretty sure. Either named role or only role I had in a play. And we did Nicholas Nickleby, and I was Charles Cheerable. That was it was knackering, because it was basically a 4-hour show. It was intense. But throughout the whole of my time at the school there, I never really got a main part. I always sort of had side characters or stuff. But every show I was in was fantastic, and the set was always great. The director was always fantastic. The people in my year are still, I think, some of the most talented people. A lot have gone on, unfortunately, not as much acting, but they were fantastic. And then I obviously, during the last year there, auditioned for drama schools. And the reason I did that was mainly because all this career talk, like all the careers departments and stuff. I remember sitting down for a meeting with one of them, and they went, so Tom, yeah, your grades are real good. You should consider looking at Oxbridge. And I went, oh, sweet, that's awesome. That's nice to hear. And they went, yeah. So what do you want to study? And I went, oh, well, I don't know, really. I haven't really thought about it that much. So probably go to uni and do, I don't know, theatre or drama or something, or maybe English and drama. And they sort of looked at me and went, okay. I didn't get a single email from them again.
Funny that.
Cut me off the radar. And then I realised, I looked at all my other subjects and I went, what else can I realistically do? So it was either that, English, or for a very brief period, I considered doing theology.
Really?
Very brief. Religion's always fascinated me, but I can go on for ages about that. So yeah, and then I was like, the only option is drama, really. So I spoke to drama department, and they said you may as well go for auditions. So I did, and I got in. Luckily, hindsight, it was very lucky. But I got into the foundation course at Oxford, and it was basically round about that. Probably I was about 16, GCSE time. I went, I'm not going to do anything else, am I? Let's be honest. I haven't got skills anywhere else. Let's give this a shot and actually go for it. So yeah.
So you talked about there getting into Oxford School of Drama.
Yeah. But to be fair, my time at Oxford was fantastic. The training I had there was excellent. It allowed me to see that acting wasn't really where I should be. Because while I was there, I was very much, and this isn't me being humble and stuff, the actors I was training with were spectacular, and they were genuinely, like, I was in tears a lot of weeks just because of how amazing some of the stuff is. And I was sort of there and I was thinking, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm involved in the training. It's really beneficial for me, but not because I wanted to be an actor. And I realized that quite early on, sort of well in, like, towards the end of the first term, and it was only a 2-term thing, but towards the end of the first term. And it was during, I think, mainly the film class, actually, because we had an acting for film class, but there was an opportunity we all paired up and we directed each other in short 2-3 minute films. And Jack, the teacher there, was so accommodating to whatever anyone wanted to do. I was like, yeah, give it a shot, why not? And I think it was that time I had sort of behind the camera was the one that really forced me into thinking, yeah, acting really is the wrong direction for me. But the training allows me to now understand actors better. So I'm so thankful for it. And without it, I probably still would be trying to act today, because I'm like, that's what I thought. That's all I thought theatre was, really, to be fair. But yeah, no, my time at Oxford was so valuable. And without it, I would not be where I am.
So you talked then about the fact that you kind of realised then when you was at Oxford that the drama school environment probably wasn't for you moving forward, certainly not in an acting sense. But then what kind of made you know that you still wanted to kind of do it enough to kind of choose it as a uni route for your undergraduate degree and then so forth come to Reading?
Well, part of that mainly wasn't the choice, because I didn't get back into Oxford. So that was I did audition, because if you're in the foundation course, you get a free audition. I got kicked out round 1. Didn't even make it to the afternoon of the auditions. Not bitter. But yeah, I sort of, because I always applied to uni anyway. So before I went to Oxford, I had a place at Leeds Uni to do stage performance. Yeah, and I was all set to go there. But while I was at Oxford, obviously, like I said, I spoke to the film teacher. And I called up Leeds and I went, so what, do you have any film options? Is there anything that you can do? And they sort of went, no, not really. And I was like, right, okay, put the phone down, cancel application.
Really?
And I think I only had 3 days left to the uni deadline, to the UCAS deadline even.
Good.
So I had to reapply to the unis I'd seen from last year's open days.
I did that.
And I put Reading as my number 1 because of the facilities. They do film and theatre for the most part. And yeah, so that sort of solidified my choice. And then while I was at uni, I was very conscious of keeping my options open at this point now, because I'd realised that acting wasn't for me. Let's try everything else. So while I was in the Drama Society and FGT as well, in the theatre department, I tried doing film, I tried cinematography, I tried writing, tried directing, tried acting again, just because why not? Tried a bit of scenographic design. I tried as much as I could. Backstage as well, sort of stage management, bit of tech here and there. So I tried to learn as much as I could. So when it came to trying to figure out where I wanted to go, I had a lot of options to explore.
So do you think that that's the best thing that you kind of got from uni then? As an experience, that kind of all-rounded approach to now kind of know at the end of your 3 years, you know, what kind of path you really want to try and forge for yourself?
Well, I really don't really know where I want to be at the moment, actually. I think what uni did do for me is choosing the uni instead of the drama school option is, I probably would have happened at drama school as well, but at uni I grew a backbone, and I learned to sort of not be disrespectful for the most part, in terms of the way I opposed certain ideas and things, but I didn't let as many people walk all over me. I sort of stood my ground and went, no, a lot more, which is, it's good to learn, but I also learned as well when to let it go and when to accept it. But I think, having the opportunity to do everything and throw myself into as much as I could was a good choice. Because say if I get a job now on a film set, I can operate a lot of the equipment there.
Yes.
And I've got really now random knowledge on green screens and audio recording and stuff like this that I never thought I'd be able to use. But now I can. Huh?
Nothing. Carry on.
Oh well, carry on. So I've got lots of weird knowledge and skills that I didn't think I would have had going into it. So I can now edit film, I can edit sound, I can do all these weird stuff, which is cool. It's really good. Hopefully, hasn't helped me yet because obviously I haven't got into the job market, but hopefully it will help me in the time to come.
Brilliant. Yeah. Well, that's all the kind of questions that I had written down. So
fair enough. Is there anything else you want to know? I'm an open book today. You can ask me anything.
Well, I'm not going to, but I do think it is a great opportunity for anyone else that is listening or watching this pod to either ask a question to you or to me, whether you've watched both of our stories and want to kind of have some more information about it. Then you can either send us an email send us out to the official email podcast email, which is the talkingtheatrepodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM on our Instagram page, which is @the Talking Theatre Podcast, and hopefully we can get some audience questions. Or if you wanted something that we might not have delved into enough in the past 2 episodes, then please let us know and we'll sort that out and we'll answer it in a few weeks and a few episodes time. And also remember to like this podcast if you've enjoyed it, as it helps with the old algorithm, as does subscribing as well, and turning on the post notification bell, which is down there in the old description. And as I say, we know that there are a few of you out there that have been tuning in on a more regular basis, so hello, thank you. But we also know that you might not have subscribed yet, so please, if you are enjoying this podcast, drop a subscribe on the Talking Theatre Podcast channel as well. And
give us a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, Tom, is there any other business that you wanted to kind of talk about?
Not really. I mean, when the way you finished yours was like, oh, theatre gave me a voice. I have this chance to tell my story and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, I've just followed it most of my life, really. I've been lucky enough to...
How about you finish this podcast with we'll go to a break. I'll then ask you something, and then you have to think about it during the break. And
go on.
Then we'll end the podcast. So during that ad break, then I asked Tom to have a think about a phrase or maybe a comment on what his kind of whole experience would be, or either that's positive, negative, or whatever. And you might be wondering why the podcast was titled what it is, and this is going to be the reason as to why. So I suppose, Tom, take the floor away and give your parting words of either advice or what your experience has been like.
Well, I was going to say something like should have been a lawyer because at least there's money in it. But then I thought, nah, actually, I don't think I'd give anything up to to change anything, because I'm pretty certain that even in this unsure time, theatre will come out the other side stronger. And I'm excited to see what will happen. But the only sort of, I was having a look back in this whole podcast of everything I've done. And the only thing I'm glad about mainly is the fact that I just sort of gave as much as I could a shot. and for that I'm thankful. I'm lucky to have the opportunity to have been given everything a shot. But I'm glad I had it, and I'm glad that I've done that.
I mean, I'm getting my bedroom redone in a few weeks' time. But so I have a thing on my wall, I think, just to add to that. It says, take your chances and only regret the things that you didn't do in life. And I think that's quite a strong message to kind of
probably
aim.
put a bit better than I did it, but yeah, that's
No, that's
basically
fine,
what I mean, yeah.
It's not my word. Someone's written it on a slate for me, and it's just on my bedroom wall.
Yeah.
It's not me.
I think that's a good parting. That's a good parting sentence. Just give it a shot. Why not?
Yeah, give it a shot. If it goes wrong,
to lose, apart from maybe employment.
Exactly. So that's probably rounding off everything from us this week. Thank you, Tom, for being so open, honest, and transparent. Hopefully, it's not too painful or too Piers-Morgan-like.
It was actually quite therapeutic. It was a bit of fun having to think back. I haven't thought about the plays I was in as a kid for a long time, so that was good fun.
Who knows? It might inspire you now. You might get writing about a child having his eyes stabbed out or something.
Maybe. That sounds like up my street, to be fair, so maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Well, keep tuned on that one. So I suppose for me, I will say goodbye and thank you for listening.
And adios from me.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.